My name's Arthur, and for the last 10 years, I have built, modified, and deployed WordPress sites. It's what I do as part of a small firm, and it's how I paid the rent for the last 10 years. It's something I genuinely enjoy. I think WordPress is an awesome platform, and I know it very well. I know it inside and out. So this controversy that came up between the company Automatic and the other company, WP Engine, has definitely rubbed me the wrong way. I guess step one, what is WordPress? If you do search on the internet for WordPress, you're going to see one of two things: WordPress.com, WordPress.org. WordPress.org is the home of the nonprofit organization and the open source WordPress CMS, content management system. It can be used for a blog, it can be used for a store, it can be used for a newsletter, it can be used for a mini social network. It's a content management system, but it's also designed to be incredibly friendly to use, hence why it became so popular. So popular, in fact, that about 40% of the internet runs on WordPress. No small feat. The other one, WordPress.com, is owned by the same people, but this is the corporate end. This is paid software as a service hosting, and this is where the revenue comes in, and they can use that revenue by offering these services, and that revenue comes and funds the building of the open source platform WordPress. Symbiotic. And as far as I understand, it's been that way since I think 2002, and it's been calm and safe. But WordPress is open source. So you, me, anyone, as long as we follow the rules of the GPL, we can grab the source, spin up a server as long as it has PHP and a MySQL compatible database. And there you go. You can run and deploy that website however you want. And no one will stop you because you're following the GPL. That's the beauty of the GPL. And there's lots of companies who've done just that. They do small, tiny hosts, like a cPanel host, that you can ingest your database, FTP or WordPress files, and go to town. It's a little more hands-on because it's just a basic host, and a lot of people like that because it's usually very cheap. But the other end, there's what's referred to as a managed host. A managed host is they kind of take care of all the background things from you. WP Engine, the program I like, they handle all that. I don't have to answer the phone on the weekends. I don't have to answer the phone after 4 p.m. I'm a fan of that. Unfortunately, WP Engine has become quite big. And this has caused, along with other things, has caused a bit of a rift between WP Engine, the managed host service I use, and Automatic. Automatic is owned and operated basically by CEO and founder Matt Mullenweg. Matt has been actually quite an outspoken person in things like the Fediverse, which is something I can get behind, and he's been a big proponent of the free and open web. In fact, he coined one of my favorite terms, code is poetry. And I love that because it's true. You should be proud of the code you write. But he's kind of gone off the deep end, and this is where it becomes quite troubling. I'm not sure exactly where it started. I do know that the version of WordPress that WP Engine runs has been modified. And that's allowed under the GPL as long as the code is shared. And as far as I understand, I believe they are complying with the GPL. But they modify it in a way that Matt doesn't like. It really comes down to time-stamped edits on posts, where there's a backup of every time you hit save. WP Engine instead uses 24-hour full server snapshots. Both have their pros and cons. Ideally, I'd want both, but I've been living with WP Engine for the last few years, and I don't really even miss that small snapshot thing. But this caused him, Matt, to publicly criticize WP Engine, and he actually referred to them in a blog post as a cancer to WordPress. Then he decided to stir the pot some more, and he was constantly, any chance he got, verbally bad-mouthing WP Engine. Little sketchiness happened. You can't use WordPress in your product name, but up until recently, you were totally allowed to use WP, the abbreviation. However, that just recently changed, and I don't know exactly when, but another thing that just recently happened is Automatic sent a cease and desist letter to WP Engine because they were using WP in their name. That part gets a little sketchy because you can actually go in the Wayback Machine and see that it was changed because of this. Like I'm don't allegedly allegedly it was changed because of this. That's what it seems like. So this kind of become a battle between Automatic and WP Engine. That's frustrating. It's one thing if you have your fights on the back end or whatever, but the problem is Matt has made some decisions. He has full control over WordPress.org. Now, if you're not super familiar with this part, when you install WordPress, if you click on your themes or plugins, an interface in the back end of your site pings WordPress.org, and it shows you all the open source plugins and themes. So you just go install, activate, and then you have a theme or plugin that you want. It's very nice. Updates come through there and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of people who build WordPress sites are very reliant on these features. They're important to have. So WordPress being 40% of all the sites running on the website, on the internet, and WP Engine being one of the largest WordPress deployment platforms on the internet, what kind of dick move would it be to suddenly block all those users from having access to their updates, upgrades, and installs? That's what Automatic has done. They've cut off thousands of WordPress users who are not part of this fight. We're talking not just blogs, we're talking businesses, a lot of businesses. And they were shut off. They were cut off. My team was in a bit of a scramble because we couldn't find out if there was new versions of plugins, if there was vulnerabilities with plugins. I started making my own tools because, again, I know WordPress so well. I'll probably talk more about this later. I have plugins and tools I'm building specifically to mitigate these problems because this has never happened before, but now it's happened. But yeah, thousands and thousands of business websites were suddenly broken because of a, in my opinion, petty dispute between two corporations. And WordPress is open source. It's GPL 3, which is the best license. GPL, not 3. 2 and 3 have different benefits. Personally, GPL is the best. GPL 3 is my favorite, but I digress. So there's a spirit, the idea that when you run a platform, you deploy a platform, that you're not ever going to use that control to abuse people. That's kind of like the unspoken rule. Like, your goal is not to make people's lives harder. Your goal is to build an excellent platform and hope people enjoy it and use it. But Matt Mullenweg has deeply sullied the WordPress brand. His actions, and as far as I understand, his actions alone, have just a devastating blow. A lot of my clients are probably freaking out, not knowing what the future is going to hold for this platform. And I do not blame them at all. Now, there are a lot of people in the community who are trying to find ways to make sure this never happens again. This was kind of a warning shot across the noses. But ultimately, it always comes back down, and I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but once again, capitalism is trying to fuck us over. I hope cooler heads prevail. I hope Matt Mullenweg scoops his brain off the floor and stops making his personal drama the problem for everyone else. I hope they figure out a peaceful solution so both companies can coexist again. Until then, and even after then, my take for the WordPress community, the open source community, is to make sure we have tools so that one man can't have a hissy fit and break thousands of business websites. That's just me. For anyone still watching, thank you for powering through that rambly rant. I've been I don't have a script for this. I just kind of set the camera up and was kind of going off the cuff. And I'm sorry if I'm meandered in and out, but anyone who's still watching, you're a badass. Okay.